Hey guys, my name is Connor and welcome to my channel where I read and talk about books. Today I'm going to be continuing my deep dive of the Age of Scorpius, and get ready you guys. If you thought the first half of the book was a mess, the second half is actually worse. But before I get into that, I just want to start off by saying thank you so much to every single person that interacted with part 1 of this review. I had absolutely no idea how quickly my last video would gain traction, and I was completely floored by the amount of subscribers that I received basically overnight. Everyone's kind comments have meant so much to me, and especially since I'm so new to all of this, and you guys cannot even begin to know just how grateful I am for all of the attention my channel has received just in the last week. I started this channel just as a hobby, and at no point did I think I would amass any kind of following so quickly, and it's genuinely so jarring to me, but I'm also so happy to know that people are watching and enjoying what I put out. You guys are so awesome, and I just want you all to know how much I appreciate every single person who has made me feel so validated and welcomed. And now that I've gotten all that sappy shit out of the way, let's jump into what you guys are actually here for. So we open the chapter with Rika waking up on a boat after her last encounter with the assassin Nara. I know her. How? I'm not sure. But I know her. What do you mean you don't know how? We've already established that you and Nara have known each other since childhood, and according to Kaya, you two were masked vigilantes. You're definitely a Zodiac Turner, that's for sure, Avia interjected, then paused. At least your assassin's hot. I didn't get the chance to say that the first time we saw her. This was so weird to read because we've already established that Rika is a Turner, and the comment on Nara being hot felt so unnecessary. Is Avia a boy or something? What does her looks have to do with anything? What if I accidentally changed one of your signs? I had no control over what I did to her. Is that what Zodiac turning is? Did Rika change the signs of the enemies she used the power on? How is any of that possible when your Zodiac is based on the month that you were born? Did she punch these people so hard that she changed the circumstances of their birth? I'm not even joking when I say that this chapter was literally just the whole group bickering over absolutely nothing of importance and having the most juvenile level of banter I have ever read in my life. Nothing important or story related happens in this chapter. It's just really poorly written dialogue, and I think it was meant to serve to endear the characters to you while they all get closer, but it didn't really land. I'm the type of reader who will overlook mediocre writing or plot if the story at least has compelling characters who have great relationship dynamics with one another, but none of these characters even have that. Every character feels like the same person from the way they speak and act. You know how some artists will suffer from same face syndrome? It feels like Audra has this, but with her characters. If you removed the indicators of who is speaking, you wouldn't be able to distinguish between them. Aside from their physical descriptions, there isn't a single thing that sets them apart from all the other characters of the book when they speak. I know that the author has stated that she intentionally writes the way Rika speaks and thinks the same way she does because she's neurodivergent, but every single character is written that way. When she writes other characters, it's like she's unable to adopt different identities and personalities, so it kind of feels like every character is just based on Audra. In the next chapter, we get another dream memory of the day that Rika and Nara saved Kaya's brother a year ago. I felt like it was a waste of time, seeing as how we were already told about this incident, and it just felt kind of repetitive to show us when we already know what happened. I feel like this book should have just had one or the other. It really didn't need both. And reading this scene made me even more confused about what Zodiac turning actually is. Apparently both Rika and Nara are Zodiac turners, but I thought that turning was a Scorpio archpower. So when Nara first appeared, she had lightning magic, but in the flashback, she was using some kind of light power. At the end of the fight, she ends up passing out, and then Rika shares her magical energy with Nara. I still don't know what turning actually does. This story never explains the abilities and limits of magic. Is turning just some limitless power where you can do anything? Why isn't anything about this magic system ever explained? Nara also calls Rika Kira, and I don't know if the author just misspelled Rika's name, or if this is just some stupid way of revealing that she's got some kind of secret identity or another name. But when they met and introduced themselves, Rika introduced herself herself as Rika, so I don't really know what's going on with all of that. Okay, so what Rika and Nara had been doing was specifically targeting Scorpio Stellarium guards and changing their signs, like literally making them a new sign. You can't do that. It's based on your birthday. And once again, what all does this power do? Apparently they can use different kinds of magic, like light and electric. They can share energies amongst each other. Rika can punch people really hard, send them flying, and apparently change their whole birthday. Also, I've got a question. If they're going around just making Scorpios not Scorpios anymore, why hasn't this gotten out? Why hasn't there been any kind of like widespread panic over it? They weren't killing these guards, so did these people just go home and not tell anyone that they're not a Scorpio anymore? And even if this was possible and made any sense, these people are still documented as Scorpios by the government. Do they just call out of work like, hey, sorry, I can't come in, I transed my zodiac? Like, how are people proving that they're a different sign? Is there a magic affected by their signs? Do they suddenly have different magic? Rika wakes up from this dream and they're in the middle of a bad storm. Their boat ends up crashing and they all fall down a waterfall. The rest of the group learns that Chase is a Libran healer because he had to use his magic to save Avia, who nearly died. And honestly, I wish that she had just actually died. I don't like any of these characters, but I can confidently say that she is the worst and contributes the least to the story. We then get another dreamscape scene with Rika, and at this point I was like, damn, this girl be sleeping a lot. I feel like it would have made more sense for her last dream to have happened while she was unconscious after her encounter with Nara, but she was passed out and then woke up, the group bantered a bit, she went to take another nap, had the dream, woke up to the boat crashing, and then immediately goes back to sleep. Anyway, we're in one of Nara's dreams, so I guess Rika can also dream seek, because apparently she can just do anything so long as it's convenient for the author. Nara. Her eyes snapped open. She stood up and whirled around to face me. The crimson aura returned with a shock through the air, reeking of decaying metal and smoldering skin, originating from the pendant. It knocked me backward and instantly absorbed into my skin. A look of pure confusion and shock tore across her expressions. I knew intuitively that it was an anger I should have been feeling, a familiar madness, towards someone. Someone we both knew. Somehow. Some way. Why are you here? She demanded, fingers curling into fists. Get out of my head. Who is it? I pushed past the fear and fury through all my willpower. Who are you angry at? She narrowed her eyes at me and without missing a beat, she said, you. Yeah, so I have no idea what any of this was about. The scene made very little sense to me, and the writing is just so bad. Thankfully, it is explained immediately after Rika wakes up. She's been hurt by someone. Someone that I was hurt by. But I don't know why I was hurt or who it is. But it's a mutual. I guess it's actually a good thing that Audra just has her character's word vomit permanent information despite not really having any prior information within the story to back it up, because at this point it's the only way the reader is actually given any kind of concise context of the story. It's a really bad way of revealing information to your reader, but at least it's something. Immediately upon setting out, the group discover another arch just like the one outside of the Conviction Woods leading into some caverns. How convenient that the thing they need just so happens to be right by the lake that they crash landed in. We then get this random lore dump regarding the Calexis. I feel like this should have happened closer to the beginning of the book when we first learned about the Calexis sword, but we learn about Matthias Merrick, the guy who was sent by the sun god to take immortality from Guardian and transfer it to the sword. He apparently married a Cancer, which wasn't actually that important to the myth, but he was made immortal as punishment because he was a Libran healer, and that was against Union law. Then he transferred his immortality to his son Silas Merrick, who is the man that wrote the note exposing the Scorpio code. This part is really weird because she says that Matthias transferred his immortality, but then the very next page says that Silas became immortal after touching the Calexis. So I don't know if Matthias is still out there or not, because saying that he transferred his immortality makes it sound like he passed his curse on to Silas. So this part was just really unclear and confusing. What's the whole deal with immortality? Imbalance, I continued. Guardian turned into a mess when society revolved around the unchecked power behind immortality. Matthias was said to be instructed by the god of the sun himself to rebalance Guardian by removing immortality with the Calexis. He performed some sort of holy ritual to transfer immortality from Guardian's magic system to the Calexis instead. I think it's really funny how the god was like, you guys are going overboard with the immortality thing, so I'm taking it away for the sake of balance. But if you're naughty, I'll punish you by giving you back the immortality that I took away. That's like a parent telling their kid that they've been eating too much candy and then turning around to be like, you did it bad, now I'm gonna give you so much candy that you're gonna get a tummy ache and that'll definitely teach you. There's also hints at this weird romantic subplot between Chase and Avia, which sort of felt like it came out of nowhere. Because when they first met Kaya, there were moments where it felt like it was pointing to him and Kaya. He literally tells Rika that Kaya is the most beautiful girl he's ever seen, and there was a scene where she was teaching him how to steer the boat, and it felt like a cute flirting moment. And then out of nowhere, it suddenly shifted to him and Avia. I know the author has talked about rewriting this manuscript like 9 times, and I can't help but wonder if she changed up the romance and forgot which one she had originally intended on. Or it could be because they're intended to be poly, which I think would be super cool, but based on what I have read, it's more likely just one of the many inconsistencies within the story. At one point, Rika sees Kaya doing a little water magic and asks her if she was taught by anyone, and this was her response: kind of. My older brothers were both Sagittarian fire mages, so I figured out a bunch of it on my own. So you didn't learn water magic from someone. That's not kind of. That's a no. You are self-taught. Oh my god, okay, get ready everyone. 50% in, and we're finally getting a piece of world building that actually fits this story and makes sense in the world. I finally have like one positive thing to say about this story. So there were some people in the comments on my last video talking about why people don't plan their pregnancies to ensure specific signs. And it does actually state that people can have healers induce early labors to ensure that a child is born at a certain time. Now I will say that does bring up the question as to how we still have so many Scorpios if people can just choose to have a healer induce labor to ensure they have a Libra instead. Like, need I remind you, the Scorpio code fucking sucks and everyone hates it, including other Scorpios, so I feel like people would be going to great lengths to not have a Scorpio child. We do learn that Rika was a cryptic pregnancy, so her mother didn't realize she was pregnant until she went into labor. At the very least, her mom can't be blamed for letting her child be a Scorpio when she had the option to have her born at a different time. It's not necessarily a great explanation because it still leaves the question as to why people are still having Scorpio children when they have the option to just not. But I will give Audra this one point: this little bit of world building actually made sense in this world, and I'm happy that she did include it. Getting back to what's actually important to the story, I hope you guys are ready for another dream memory. Rika is back in school when Scorpio Stellarium bust in during class and apprehend Nara, which is confusing because Nara is not a Scorpio. And at the beginning of the book, it specifically said that they couldn't do anything to Kaya's brother's boyfriend because he was a different sign and they would get in trouble for hurting a Gemini. But for some reason, that doesn't apply to Nara. Why? Because the author says so, I guess. Who fucking knows? We still have zero explanation as to why Nara is associated with the Scorpio Stellarium. She's literally an Aries. She falls under the Aries Stellarium jurisdiction. Furious magic surged through me in an instant, unfamiliar to the typical control I withheld over my zodiac turning. An ancient anger unleashed itself at... hell. An ancient anger unleashed itself at the way her hands went pale from the Stellarium members cutting off her circulation at her wrists. My veins lit up with a white light. I didn't resist it, bristling at the officials as they watched me with expressionless faces. You have no idea what I am. I threw a foot onto my desk and stepped on top of it. I was done with their manipulation. I lived through their shit my whole life, but going after Nara, I'd made a promise to her. I will fucking destroy you. Yeah. This reads like it was written by an edgy teenager. Imagine having this girl boss pussy queen moment, meanwhile the people you're trying to threaten are just staring at you like... Like, that's that's basically how it went. In this moment, Rika literally uses her zodiac turning in front of the entire class and 2 Stellarium guards, and instead of immediately being executed for not only breaking code, but also having a forbidden power and attacking government officials, one of the Stellarium guards drags her into another room to be like, "Who taught you this power? My guy, does it matter?" Rika, despite being a small teenage girl, manages to physically overpower this guy without using her magic and says, "I won't be your echo. I won't be a mother to children you breed from us. I won't fall underneath the Stellarium's control, and nothing you can do will ever take that away from me," I snarled. "I won't be your bitch." For starters, breeding had nothing to do with any of what was happening in this scene, so I don't know where this particular rant came from. The book has not even mentioned the concept of forcing Scorpios to breed other Scorpios until this point, which leads me to my next question. Is the Scorpio Stellarium forcing people to give birth to other Scorpios? I get that they were able to get away with enforcing the code as it was passed off as being this divine edict passed down by the gods, and that's why other Stellariums are unable to accuse them of violating human rights, but nowhere in this code does it state that Scorpios are subject to forced breeding. I want to state again, not once was this ever even hinted at during any point of this book until just now. This was absolutely insane bonkers to suddenly read halfway through the book. Rika and Nara are both overpowered again, even though Rika was literally just throwing people around with her power in the classroom. One of the Stellarium puts a knife to Rika's throat to force Nara to turn her own sign into a Gemini Cancer cusp, and in doing so, I guess she was able to activate a secondary power where she erased Rika's memories. Even though earlier in the book, when it came to light that Rika was missing memories, she and Chase both stated that as far as they both knew, there was no magic capable of wiping someone's memories. So how did this guy know about this Gemini Cancer specific magic if it's not public knowledge? Nara calls her Kira again and tells her she loves her before wiping her memories, and I'm sitting here like, who the hell is Kira? Rika wakes up in a panic, accidentally attacks Chase and changes his sign, crashes out over accidentally hurting him, runs away into one of the caverns, has a mentee bee, and then you'll never believe it, falls asleep and has another memory dream. Also, I just want to take a second. If Chase isn't a Libra anymore because she changed his sign, does that mean he's not a Libran healer anymore? Because changing Nara's sign apparently affected her magic, so does the same apply to him? Anyway, back to the dream memory. There's apparently this thing called vascular connection, which is a way for the archpowers to open a psychological connection between each other. And I genuinely want to know how connecting one's vascular system to another's allows the two of you to share a mental bond. Our magic exploded in a furious buzz, aggressively illuminating both of our bodies in a screaming, energetic connection. Nara's fingers tightened around my hands and the surroundings began to blur and darken, as if the magic was rapidly entrapping us in our own dimension. Yet my body remained eerily calm as white light pulsated through my veins and hers, jumping to and from each of us as it balanced its flow between two souls. The air smelled of blood and smoke and flora, of a distant thunderstorm approaching and a searing forest fire. A harmonious hum emanated from our hands where the forces were centered. As I looked at Nara, feelings arrived and departed in a flow of gentle waves. I would identify them to feel them fade into the light of our bodies. Any anxieties or worries washed away into the abyss surrounding us. If Nara had an emotion that arose, it was quietly echoed in my own spirit. In this space, our space, nothing else existed but the two of us, entrapped in the stream of ethereally calm magic and emotion, frozen in a moment of time. I've said it once before, and I'll say it again, Audra is awful at writing purple prose. That was a whole lot of run-on sentences that made very little sense at all. You can really tell that Audra thinks she's being profound and poetic, but it's really just long-winded and overly complicated. So I guess by doing this vascular connection, this is the key to breaking the hold that Stellarium has over Nara. At least I think that's what the author is getting at. I love how Audra's go-to when Rika is presented with some kind of problem is for her to immediately go to sleep and unlock some core memory that holds the solution. I wish that I could solve all my problems that way. Oh my god. Okay, so when Rika wakes up, she discovers that she changed Chase's sign to a Scorpio, which apparently actually affects your personality and how you feel emotions, because Chase admits that he feels everything so much more intensely. And this really pissed me off because when I went into this book, I thought that it was going to be doing some kind of commentary on harmful stereotypes based on zodiac signs. But multiple times in this story, it just reinforces sign stereotypes. So I guess being a water sign automatically makes you feel emotions stronger than any other sign. And I took big time offense to this because I'm a Taurus and I have very strong emotions all the time. I'm having intense emotions right now over this stupid fucking story. Having intense and overwhelming emotions is not exclusive to water signs. Feeling things intensely is a pretty common human experience that has absolutely nothing to do with when you were born. Also, apparently Chase is a zodiac turner after being made into a Scorpio, so I don't know why he doesn't just turn himself back to a Libra. Nara did it in the dream. Can only natural-born Scorpio turners change their signs at will? I have never read a book that left me feeling like such an idiot. Everything in this book is stated in the narrative as if it's really obvious and I should understand it, but at every turn I'm sitting here thinking how and why it's like this. I constantly feel like I'm missing something while reading. And I'm sure listening to me talking about it is just as confusing for you guys, and I'm sorry if things seem all over the place. I promise you that I am reading everything that happens in order. I write my notes as I read specifically so I don't accidentally leave out anything important. This is just how the book is written. She turns Chase back into a Libra and he gets his Libran healing back, and on the subject of healing, I want to know what the difference between a healer and a Libran healer is, because one is a forbidden arch power and the other is actually allowed and pretty common. Is it just Libras who aren't allowed to be healers? The story never actually differentiates between the two. Kaya's magic begins glowing after she touches Chase again, and stars appear on her skin, and everyone is like, oh my god, what's going on? I know what's going on. I knew what was going on the moment she was welcomed into the party. She's a Cancer spirit walker, because even though no one's seen an arch power in over 100 years, everyone in this book has to be special, so they all get the specialist powers. Except for Avia. God, I hope that she just stays a regular fire mage, because first off, I hate her, and second, if she does end up being special just like everyone else, I'm gonna throw myself off my balcony. This next part is really funny. The moment they step out from the caverns, they're jumped and they get bags thrown over their heads and restrained with some kind of magic that Rika has never heard of. I wouldn't know whether that kind of magic was actually common or not because we're never told what magic does and doesn't exist in this world. In one of the flashbacks, there was a guy who could summon the spirits of dead animals. There is no rhyme or reason to what magic does and doesn't exist. She just throws in random shit throughout the story, and you kind of just have to sit there like, okay, I guess this is also a thing in this world. They're taken to a hut where they meet a woman named Sora, who knew that they were coming because she was told by Atlas. They're in the town of Reka, not to be mistaken for Rika, and this is apparently an Autarian town in Ascidian territory. This town is built over the cave systems that hide the Calexis sword, and there's also some kind of magic that kills anyone who goes in to find it. We do get confirmation that Kaya is a spirit walker, and apparently spirit walkers can only come into their powers if they have contact with a Libran healer. Why? We don't know. Everything about this world is just so arbitrary. Sora agrees to let them stay in the village as they search for the Calexis, and I'm gonna give you guys 3 guesses as to what happens next. That's right, everyone. Rika has yet another dream. She meets Nara again in this dream, and I think that Nara is being possessed by someone or something because she claims that she's going to find and tear Rika apart for the pain that she's put her through, but then has a moment of clarity where she seems horrified at trying to hurt Rika, but then becomes hostile again. Rika wakes up with a dislocated shoulder and a broken collarbone, so I guess Nara can just injure people through their dreams. Honestly, at this point, I'm not even surprised when Audra decides to throw random magic that wasn't in the book before. Now when I read something new, my reaction is, of course, because why wouldn't this also be in the book? Literally everything is possible, as long as Audra wants it to be. So we find out what spirit walking is because Kaya says she can feel Rika's emotions, and they manifest like auras. Great power you got there, Kaya. Tell me more about how you're an empath. Chat, can you please confirm if this is actually a cancer thing? I've only known like 2 cancers in my life, so I don't have a lot of experience with them. She kept her grip on my hands, and when I met her eyes, I was pulled into a serene trance. Kaya felt like she had stepped into the emotional realm of my mind, walking another dimension of the subconscious, simultaneously human and spirit. What's super funny to me is that every time Rika is in distress, Avia is not present, and everyone is just like, don't worry, we don't have to tell her about what's going on. We know that she constantly makes you feel like shit and makes everything worse, so this can just be between the 3 of us. The story is literally acknowledging how terrible of a character Avia is. Like, imagine if your sister was having crippling panic attacks and being injured, and her immediate thought every single time is how she doesn't want you around during those moments, because you're just that terrible of a sibling that she feels more comfortable being vulnerable with 2 people she's only known a few weeks more than her own family. The next day, everyone meets up with Sora, and we get this moving mural story about the creation of the Colexis, but then it segues into the story of Silas Merrick, his brother, and an Aries woman who remains unnamed, and their childhood friend, Blaine. All 4 of them are Zodiac turners, even though only Blaine and Silas are Scorpios. And once again, I ask, isn't turning an archpower specific only to Scorpios? Spirit Walkers and Libran healers are only Cancers and Libras. So why is turning apparently available to other signs, even though it was described in the introduction as being a Scorpio power? Basically, Blaine's villain origin story is that he and the Aries woman were dating, and then she left him for Silas. Blaine's resentment towards Silas only grew when Silas married the Aries woman. In his blinding anger, Blaine tried to murder her to stop her from becoming an Aries heir. Silas set a curse to force Blaine away from the Aries woman, killing Blaine's mother. Blaine ended up using his power to change his sign to Leo, and then began a smear campaign to make Guardian hate and fear Turners because they killed the Aries leader. I really love how Silas killing Blaine's mother is what made society question the dangers of this power, and not the fact that they can just change anyone's sign at will. So yeah, he starts this war against the Archpowers, and then fabricated the code, and this part of the book really confused me, because his mother was the Aries leader, and he was pretending to be a Leo. So was his mother an Aries, or was she a Scorpio? They can't be both. Does Audra even read her stuff after writing it, or was she one of those turn your essay into the teacher without reviewing it type of people? Honestly, I don't even have that much room to judge, because I did the exact same thing in high school. I was not about to go over all of my writing. History and the rest of Guardian teaches Zodiac Turners to be exactly what Blaine painted them as. Cruel, vicious people who only called for death. The truth, the conflict was a deeply complex fight between love, hate, and legacy. It wasn't, actually. There's nothing deeply complex about Blaine being a butthurt little incel. After this story time, Chase and Rika decide to go traipsing through the woods for literally no reason at all. They're attacked by this weird dragon-wolf hybrid monster, and it absolutely disembowels Rika before Chase kills it. And as he's trying to heal Rika, Nara shows up and ties them both up in a cave, where she then reveals to Rika that Chase is her brother, and their father is Silas Merrick? I can't help but wonder if Audra's method of writing just involves throwing darts at a spinning wheel of random bullshit and then writing whatever it lands on. There was zero build-up to this moment. Absolutely none. There was no foreshadowing or hint that this is where the story would go at any point leading up to this moment. Oh, and it gets even better. Atlas Fulbright and Sora are the unnamed brother and Aries woman. God, okay, this is so confusing, but Chase and Nara were raised together until they were 5 and 3. Blaine found them and cursed Sora and Silas so that they can never be together without it harming Nara and Chase. Silas takes Chase while Sora and Atlas raise Nara. Blaine then found Nara again when she was 13 and kidnapped her after cursing Sora and Atlas so they couldn't be near her. And I guess that's why she's with the Scorpio Stellarium? Apparently curses exist in this world too, because Silas and Blaine do it, but, you know, before before now, we've never even heard of curses. And that's just another thing to add to the pile of bullshit that Audra just decides to throw into her book for no reason at all. Nara then tells Rika that Blaine is her father, which I actually did see that coming back when they said that her mom was SA'd by a Scorpio turner, because obviously the villain would also be a rapist. Rika has another mentee bee at this revelation and is screaming for Nara to just kill her already. She already said that she was going to stop Rika from starting another war by reversing the code, but Nara is a weak ass bitch and can't actually do shit. She hissed with agony as the red glow on her chest burned brighter and the air thickened with the stench of burning skin. Nara yanked the blade away from my skin, hurling it toward the wall with her full force. It clattered against stone. She screamed out in pain, her palm slamming against her chest. She leaned down to cough up blood, and with agonized tears streaming down her face, she sparked a light between her fingers to press to my forehead. This was so hilariously dramatic, like for no reason. I don't know about you guys, but it's been a minute since Rika had a memory dream. But don't worry, because you can always count on Audra to throw one in at least every other chapter. It's not actually that important, it's just a memory of Rika and Nara telling each other that they're in love and then sucking face in the woods. Rika wakes up, Nara lets Chase heal her before making him pass out again. Rika sees that there's a pendant burned into the skin on Nara's chest, and this is what's been causing the red glow and possesses Nara and makes her go Engi mode. Rika gets up, overpowers Nara, and rips the pendant out of Nara's chest, and just like that, Nara is now cured and no longer wants to kill Rika. I'm not pulling a fast one on you guys, this all happens in the span of like 3 pages. Nara spills everything about how the Stellarium put the artifact in her chest and then sent her to kill Rika and bring back the Calexis, because only people from Silas and Blaine's bloodlines can pass the barriers protecting Rika. Except Avia and Kaya are not related to Silas, Blaine, Atlas, or Sora, so that doesn't explain how those two were able to pass the barriers like Rika, Nara, and Chase could. Also, Nara can't go with them to the village because she was cursed to stay away from Sora, but instead of waiting in the forest to join up with the others to find the Calexis, Nara returns to the Stellarium. She says that she'll make up some kind of bullshit lie, but she literally had the artifact that they were using to control her ripped out of her chest. Like, does she think they're not going to notice that it's gone? Rika just freed you from their control, and you're in a place where they cannot reach you, so why are you going back? God, this story just gets worse the more I read it. Rika meets up with Sora the next day, and she reveals that Rika's father, Rowan, is also an immortal and a spirit walker. He has the power to restore Rika's memories that were taken from her, except Rika's memories have been missing for a whole year. It wasn't until Atlas gave Rika an enchanted compass from Rowan right before they set out for the sword that Rika started to get her memories back. Apparently the only reason he waited so long to return her memories was because he didn't want the Stellarium to kill her for trying to rebel again. Except she's rebelling now, and she's literally on this quest that they sent her on in the first place. So why couldn't they just tell her the truth a year ago and have her do this sooner? It also strikes me as weird that all of these powerful and immortal beings are just taking a back seat while they send a bunch of teenagers out to risk their lives to do all of this. They could at the very least go with Rika to protect her. Oh my god, this part made me so mad. Sora also says that she and Atlas found a way to reverse the curse a month ago, and she knew that Rika met up with Nara in the woods because she felt her presence. So why didn't she go and seek Nara out? Why didn't she attempt to find and rescue her daughter sooner? Nara specifically didn't go with Rika and Chase because she thought she was still cursed, and now she's back with the people who abuse her. This book is so stupid. The writing makes no sense. I feel like I'm going insane. Atlas shows up all of a sudden, and I guess he's just able to go wherever he wants, which is strange because he made it seem like he couldn't get involved in this quest without starting a war. But now he's conveniently here, so I guess that was a lie. He tells them that the Stellarium has threatened Nara with getting Blaine involved unless she brings them the Calexis. Hey, you know how all of this could have been avoided? If Sora had gone to find Nara the moment she sensed her outside the town. It's really frustrating fascinating how Audra has included these all-powerful and all-knowing immortals who claim that they can't do the things they're sending the main character out to do, but still jump in and out when it's convenient, despite saying that they can't get involved. Even though it's super dangerous to rush into the caves, Atlas says that it'll be fine because Chase looks exactly like Matthias, and as long as he activates his Libran healing magic, the beast protecting the sword will think he's Matthias and let them pass. Okay, if it was that easy, why didn't you guys send Rika and Chase after the sword before Nara went after it? Buckle up, everyone. There's 17% left in this book, so you know a lot of crazy, nonsensical stuff is going to happen in a really short amount of time, and I'm sorry in advance for how confusing this is going to be. This part isn't important to the story, but I just want to throw it in there because it's funny how terrible the book makes Avia out to be. By the time we'd found Avia in the village, who'd been taking a nap at the house the entire time we'd searched a good portion of Reika for her, we were forced to run to make up for lost time. Why is Avia even here? So for some reason, everyone and their dog keeps insisting that Chase can't know the truth about Nara being his sister and Sora being his mother, but while they're rushing to the Calexis, Chase somehow puts 2 and 2 together because Rika let it slip that Nara is also a Libran healer because she has both Zodiac turning and Libran healing in her family. What was the point of making it such a big deal that Chase couldn't know all of this when he was immediately going to figure it out on his own? And I'm sitting here like, you guys can talk about this later. The fate of the world rests on you getting to the sword before Nara, so maybe that's what y'all should be focusing on right this moment. And just like I knew it would, this stupid conversation halted their progress, and they see Nara getting a head start down another tunnel towards the Calexis. Even though they just saw Nara, they do somehow still manage to make it to the sword before her. This is it? Avia asked. She reached toward the handle of the sword. Chase quickly grabbed her wrists. Let Rika do that. Why? She started this whole thing, yeah? It should be her honor. Avia, with a huff, retreated her hands. Why is Avia even here? The only thing she's done this whole book is act as the world's most obnoxious lantern. It would have been easier if they had just brought torches, because at least those can't talk. Rika draws the sword from its stone, and that's when the monster protecting it appears. 2 footsteps shook the floors of the cavern. 2 lion-like arms forming out of the darkness like a beast of conviction woods. Talons stuck out of fuzzy paws as if ripped from an eagle and sewn into a lion's paws. Its arms grappled the rock where the Calexis once sat. 2 back legs contorted with 3-pronged anisadec connecting to a snake-like body with rippling scales. A lengthy neck sulked over the edge of the rock as the monster stood, 3 times larger than the creature in Reika's woods. 5 times more intimidating than a beast of conviction woods. Pitch black horns curled from the head, matching the raven-colored scales spanning its body. A slitted tongue flicked in and out of its mouth with a warm hiss. A tint of crimson aura flared across its scales as it moved in the light, matching the Calexis. Even though Atlas told them that all Chase would have to do is activate his healing in front of this beast, they all try to attack it anyway, and of course it's immortal, so all its wounds heal immediately while it absolutely wrecks their Also, apparently Atlas is a liar because Chase uses his healing and that does literally nothing to stop this monster from attacking them. Instead, Rika uses her turning on it and she Zodiac turns it so hard that she enters a weird limbo where she remembers her childhood in Conviction Woods and her dad tells her about this guardian wolf of the woods that would protect her. I don't know if the wolf is like an actual wolf or a metaphor or whatever, it just shows up and she hugs it. There is a balance in our world, a balance that cannot be disrupted by the removal of one link of the chain. The Zodiac Turners, a blend of the humanity force itself, handing life and death at their... hold on. This sentence is weird. The Zodiac Turners, a blend of the humanity force itself, handing life and death at their hands, were feared creatures stolen away by the likes of history, war, and misunderstanding. But to balance this world, there comes an understanding that not all is good and not all is bad. To call the wolf a beast without looking past its balance to the forest, a disruption is caused to the ecosystem. To take the Zodiac Turner and our emotions from us distorts our own perceptions of the good and bad. To deny that we must learn to balance our power and morality alike, to learn that our emotions do not dilapidate us, but drive us forward to become better at the magic we wield to better ourselves and the societies around us. You, he said, have much to do in this vast world before the light's ancient trance enchants you. With a sudden golden light, everything around me instantly snapped back to reality. So, was that Jesus Wolf telling her it's not her time to die? Rika wakes back up, and the monster was briefly incapacitated, but it gets back up to try and attack her when Nara rushes in to protect her. "Why didn't it recognize Chase as Matthias?" she said quietly, and I stared back at her, unsure of how to answer. She glanced over at Chase, who had his arms around Avia, healing her while she leaned against him. "Never mind, got it. That's why." "So what you're trying to tell me is that this thing wasn't fooled by Chase because he was with Avia? Are you saying that this monster took one look at Chase and was like, oh, that can't be Matthias, because that man would never be caught dead healing a woman other than his wife?" Instead, Nara throws herself between Rika and the monster and uses her healing to hypnotize it? She's apparently able to do this because she's stronger than Chase. I'm not really sure what that has to do with anything, because Atlas made it sound like you just have to look like Matthias to get the creature to back off. Apparently, what Chase was supposed to do was make cuts in his and Kaya's hands and then activate their magic together at the same time, and immediately the monster stops and bows to them and even gives Chase the sword. I guess this is because Matthias married a Cancer Spirit Walker. It just needed to see a display of Spirit Walker and Libran healing magic to convince it to back down. Why was it that Nara knew that's what they needed to do, but not Atlas? Why didn't Atlas just say, use your Libran healing and Cancer Spirit Walking together and it'll stop the monster? They literally confirmed that Avia was the reason it didn't recognize Chase, because she was a fire mage and not a Spirit Walker. I'm starting to think that Audra also hates Avia because she's annoying as hell, serves no purpose to the story, and in this case her presence actively hindered them. At every turn, Avia is proven time and time again to be utterly useless to the narrative, and I have no idea what she's still doing here. The story does this really weird shift where Nara stops to inform Chase of everything regarding their family, and everything is chill for a second before she and Rika both look at the Calexis lying on the ground and suddenly remember that they were both racing to try and get to the sword, so suddenly they're both making a mad dash to get it before the other. They're literally arguing while holding this sword between them, and Rika brings up the promises that Nara made to her and says some bull about how she's not afraid of being hurt if it means fighting for a life with Nara. Nara shut her mouth. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Chase quickly look away from us. Avia laughed. Kaya was face down on the floor with her cloak over her head to avoid our emotions. God, everyone in this book acts like they're 12 years old. Rika convinces Nara to let it go by saying they'd both drop the sword at the same time, even though they're clearly going to take the sword after it's dropped, so what was the point of that? I really have no idea. They both hug it out, and it's very emotional. Nara calls her Kira again, and it turns out this whole time that Kira was just a nickname that she called Rika, even though the two names sound nothing alike. All this time, I thought that Rika somehow had a secret identity or something that would be like this big reveal later on in the book, but no, it was just a nickname. And just like that, everything is resolved, and Nara is their ally, who is no longer trying to help Blaine and the Scorpio Stellarium. And they're all friends now. This whole scene was so stupid, and the conflict resolution was just really boring and lackluster. As soon as they make it out of the caverns, Chase, Nara, and Sora all have this really tearful family reunion, which I did not find moving at all, because Sora had the chance to tell Chase, but she refused to because, in her own words, Silas was the one who lied to Chase, so it's him he should hear the truth from. But then he found out the truth anyway. Keeping this information from Chase did not serve the story at all. There was no plot-related reason to continue lying to him other than, it's not my job to do what Silas should have done. Except that is literally your son, so yes, it is your job to fill him in on that stuff. You can't just withhold that information for no reason and then expect to have a beautiful family reunion with him. I'd have been so fucking pissed if I found out that I met one of my long-lost parents and they intentionally didn't tell me when nothing was stopping them from doing so in the first place. Every single person in this book is written so terribly, and nothing anyone does makes any kind of sense. After everyone's had some time to settle down, Atlas and Sora show up to talk about the next step of the plan, and they reveal that Kaya's mother is also a Libran healer, and an immortal. At this point, who isn't an immortal archpower? Rhea, the Libra leader. She's a Libran healer immortal. She's been the Libra healer for over 100 years. I've developed my skill as a cosmetic shapeshifter in Gemini. She did the same thing I did, with shapeshifting to a child's form and growing up to become a leader under our own royalty, I guess. Rhea and I have our ways. So I guess Geminis have shape-shifting magic too, but that's actual shape-shifting and not the bullshit shape-shifting that Rika does? Why are both powers called shape-shifting when Rika's shape-shifting is totally different and more like transmogrification? And also, what does any of this information have to do with overthrowing the Scorpio government? We already knew that the Libra leader was against the Scorpio Stellarium for killing her son. Why was it necessary to suddenly throw out that she's been an immortal this whole time? Okay, this next part is very confusing, and even I don't fully get it, but Rika can't just return to the hub and expose the Scorpio Stellarium because the Scorpio Arctura is Blaine's puppet, and he'll just find a new one to put in her place. And apparently the only way to reverse the Scorpio code entirely is to get all the other Stellariums to put forward a vote to change the law, which I don't understand why Atlas and Rhea, who have already been working against the Scorpio Stellarium and had access to proof, couldn't bring this to the Stellarium Council. Once again, everything happening in this story is just an elaborate plan laid out by Atlas and Rhea for the others to follow, but everything that he's telling them sounds like something that they were both perfectly capable of doing. So I still fail to see how any of this had to be done by Rika. So the plan going forward is that Rika and the others just take the sword to other Stellarium leaders and convince them to vote on reversing the law. After coming up with this plan, we end our story with Rika and Nara climbing up the mountainside so that they can make out in the snow. My magic jumped to life underneath the moonlight, illuminating her body and my own in an ancient dance of blood and storm. What am I reading? In an ancient dance of blood and storm, of balance and unity, of equal forces of change and fate, within me stirred the calling of stories old and new to glow as if they were stars hidden in every part of my skin. I was made of universal truth of love and war, and I knew, with this force of fighting and fury and fire, nothing would stop me from tearing the Scorpio code apart with my bare hands and sharpened claws. That's it. That's how it ends. God, this story was a lot, and I don't even know, I still don't even understand half of the shit that I read in this book. I usually like to close my videos out by outlining the things that I did like about the story because I don't like ending my videos on a negative note. Aside from the one thing that was mentioned about how people do have control over what sign their children are born under, I cannot think of a single positive thing to say about this story. I constantly felt like I was being gaslit by this book because of how often it contradicted itself. There were so many inconsistencies throughout the narrative. The pacing was all over the place. The dialogue between characters was cringy and hard to follow. Nothing about the magic system made a lick of sense. It felt like the most random shit was thrown in for shock factor. Rhea being an immortal makes zero sense because the Calexis has been underground for at least 300 years, but she's only been immortal for the last 100. So do they still have access to it, and can they still make people immortal? A lot of things in this story were just completely unnecessary. I have lost count of how many headaches reading this book has given me. My head constantly hurts from this book. Anyway, I want to thank you all for coming on this journey with me. It was not easy, let me tell you, but you all gave me the strength I needed to make it through this absolute affront to God and literature. I do have plans for other videos. I was actually working on another book review before I jumped onto this one, and I have ideas for book recommendations that I want to share with you guys. But for right now, I need to take a little time for self-care because this book took so much energy out of me. I truly have never read anything quite as draining as this book. This is actually my second attempt at recording because I realized in the first one, I just looked and sounded so tired and my energy was just not there, so I had to redo all of it again, and that is how soul-sucking it was to read The Age of Scorpius. Also, totally off topic, but a ton of people have been commenting on our flower vase. My boyfriend and I found her at Michael's in the Halloween section, location. I don't know if every location has them, but if you guys want one, you might be able to find it there. So yeah, take a quick trip on over to Michael's in the Halloween spot. So yeah, that's all that I have for you guys for right now. In the meantime, make sure that you all take care of yourselves, and as always, remember to keep it real.